after exciting hot tubs and technology, we have to keep you awake with hospitality asset management. I'd like to start off with Your Excellencies, dignitaries, ladies and gentlemen, delegates, dear friends. We are tasked today to relay a message. It's been a long journey to arrive to this point, to talk about real estate, hospitality, asset management. I know in this room we'll probably have a few hundred different interpretations of asset management. And hopefully with our distinguished panel, we'll be able to provide clarity. I'd like to start off with introducing our distinguished panel. We have Theodor Kubak, who is Head of Investments for US of Union Investments, second largest real estate investment firm out of Germany. Then we have, without any further needed, CEO of Roya International, Kees Hartzuiker. We have from Singapore, Tasos, Kousloglou, who is running the Asia Pacific for JLL Asset Management, and again, a signature to the Middle East, Filippo Sona, who's Director of Hospitality at Colliers. Before we go into the panel, I want to leave something with you all, because we won't be able to cover everything about hospitality asset management. But most importantly, if you can leave with a thought, what does it really represent? Ultimately, it represents an asset manager. We represent the best interests for ownership, and we are tasked to realize your investment strategy. You will say, well, that's a given. Thank you.
That's a given. Yeah. Okay. Well, it's actually not a given. Because if you think about who represents your interests, you have different entities representing yourself. You have, in this room specifically with hospitality, operators representing your interests. But do they fully represent your interests? That's a whole separate topic we'll not go into today. But I just want to give you that thought, and we're going to try to clarify that for today. We have the history of asset management was basically formulated in 1993 when Marriott Corporation did the split. They split up their assets from the operating brand. We had on one side Host Marriott, and the other side what we know today is Marriott International. So in 1993, Marriott already realized the importance and the conflict of interest between operator and ownership. This has evolved today, 24 years later, into professional asset management. And I highlight professional because there are many interpretations. Now, take this a step further. Why isn't this coming to the Middle East? Why haven't we seen more asset management? We have the conglomerates like Dubai Holding, we have Qatar, we have Adia. They are all applying asset management. Why hasn't it trickled through to the individual ownership? Because of the understanding what is asset management. So with our panel, we'll try to give clarity on asset management. We have Theodor, who not only represents Union Investments, but also the Hospitality Asset Managers Association. This is a 25-year-old association from the US, which has transitioned into Europe. From Europe, it's transitioned into Asia Pacific, represented by Tasos. We have now a chapter in Japan and China and in the Middle East. These two gentlemen have traveled from far to have our second annual general meeting, which was 2 days ago, and to share their knowledge about the region. So I'd like to backtrack as to what is asset management and what does it represent for the individual chapters and professionals. So Theodor, thank you for coming, very much appreciated. For you, what is the fundamentals, values and true values that asset management brings?
I think the values in asset management depend very much on which type of investor you are. If you're an institutional investor or private equity, if you're in a long hold, or if you are to flip. But JAM, the Certified Hotel Asset Management Distinguishing Program, defines 5 core competencies where we can add value. One is the asset management process, which defines very much at the acquisition of the property where you want to take the property. The second one, and that's probably a competency which is very often referred to, understood at this point in time as asset management, is the operational aspect, where we look into some processes. But then the other three is very much value-driven and very much define values at the end, which is contract and legal aspects. And that goes far beyond just the management fees. That goes into casualty clauses. That goes into termination clauses. That goes into insurance clauses, such as waiver of subrogation, which may cost you heaps and lots of money if you don't look into it. Or it goes into financial and benchmarking aspects. And then, of course, there's the investment process when it comes to reinvesting into your FFND. And all of these core competencies are driving the value of the property.
Tasos, would you like to add to that?
Yes, I mean, the first words that come to mind, all of us, what we try to do, obviously, is to improve returns and asset value. Now, regardless if we are in the phase of opening a hotel or disposing, exiting the hotel, or during the operating period, this is what we're trying to do. We are here to work with the operator, represent the owners, make sure that put a more strategic perspective for the asset according to the objectives of the ownership, and make sure that the operator serves this objective the best possible way for the owner, that owners' funds are wisely utilized. But I would like to highlight the strategic objective as well, in addition to what Theodor said earlier. You need to know where you want to go in the current market with the current asset before you agree about your budget, about your capital process, about your capital planning, and anything. Also, I would like to add that we're here to work with the operator, and this is the operational asset management, but also sometimes work only with the owner when it comes to decisions such as selecting an operator, branding or rebranding an asset, or discussing the financing. Let's not forget about these aspects, or exiting the investment. I mean, we see a lot of institutional owners now in Asia, a lot more institutional ownership in Asia and China, Asia Pacific as well.
So more on the strategic side. But a lot for this audience, Middle East, they say, well, why do we need an asset manager? We have got an accountant who does asset management. Is that true? Filippo?
After James' presentation, I don't know what we're doing here. Basically, we're not going to exist, so why do we do asset management? But I think, why do you need an asset manager? And it's very simple. Over and above all the good things that my colleague have said and what James, one thing that I really like he said is about data. This is very important. We are there to bridge the gap between the inbox and out of the box. We bring a market perspective, and that's a very important one, because one of the biggest questions is, particularly in revenue management, is what is the size of the demand out there? What is the segmentation size of the demand? So try to bring and quantify what's on the market, what's on the pot, and how we go about get that. That is where an in-house person, or even a single operator that have multiple assets, can only see from their own inside of the box. You need somebody that comes from a market point of view. That's where we come in and bridge the gap in a strategic, facilitating way, rather than a policing and controlling way. This is very important. That's why we are facilitators. By giving a market perspective, you're able to make better decisions, more informed decisions, more strategic decisions, and sometimes not making a decision at all, because sometimes say, no, let's not do it. This is where the value of the asset management is, bringing a market perspective, which goes beyond the STR of these days, which is a fantastic job on the data, superb. It goes beyond the Review Pro of these days on the qualitative aspect. Is the field research, is the observations, is all these things that people in the hotel don't have physically the time, because their core job is to service the client.
True. So it's that data, and it's interesting you mentioned that. I thought about the same thing, what James said. It's that data and how you interpret that and what you do with it. that is true value. And Kees with Roya is one of the leading third-party asset management firms. You've seen the evolution from asset management. You're seeing a few years ago, we're talking more and more about asset management. We're on stage. We have an association now. Where do you see that evolution of asset management and from the early days?
Sure. Well, look, obviously, first of all, agree with everything that is being said. We're there for the investor and to ensure that the investor's strategy and his interests are always given the top priority. I think the word asset management tends to be very much focused on the initial cycle of the asset when it comes to the feasibility and the investment and all of that. But the real other values that an asset manager adds is when you go into the area and facility programming and the design process and making sure that the original positioning gets executed and time, quality, budget, these things that are fighting with each other, that we stay on target. And you need a different skill set for that. So I think good asset managers represent many different skills because we deal with many different issues. The first part is very much financial modeling, investment-led, design development. I'm an operator, I'm a hotelier. Don't ask me architectural questions. So we have three architects actually in our team. So we started with 2, now we are 60. So I think one of the developments of asset management is that we can't be a jack of all trades, master of none. We have to, there are very different skill sets required at different time of the asset cycle. So the future for me, to answer your question, is that we really get expertise in there. And just coming back to data, obviously data is the driver, but each market is different, each property is different, each competitive set is different, each hotel brand is different, each hotel team is different. So we can't only deal with macro, we also have to deal with micro and very much understand the strengths and the weaknesses of the property, the market, the team, the brand, etc., and complement. We're there to make success. We're not there to find fault.
Excellent. So what I'm hearing is data, strategy, operations. Tasos.
Yeah, I mean, most of my colleagues here, all of us, we asset manage a portfolio of hotels and across many different brands, sometimes in the market. So we understand the markets very well. We're not able to benchmark. However, we're also here sometimes to, and I will use the word disrupt. Everyone uses the word disrupt nowadays, to disrupt a little bit occasionally the thinking of the operator. We see sometimes operators that maybe when they design a hotel or when they run a hotel, there are certain things that they have to adhere obviously to certain brand standards, and there is a reason for that. But sometimes we need to think sometimes out of the box and make sure that they take into consideration the local market needs, as you said. Do we need 6 F&B outlets? Do we need a big banquet space? Do we need, I mean, what is really needed? And look a bit forward. What is needed in the next 5 to 10 years? When we build a hotel, or when we open a hotel, we need to cater to the demand for the next 5, 10 years. We need to look a bit forward.
True. But the question will be here, will we have the operator for that? The operator does that for you.
Yeah, but the operator has a full alignment. That is the spirit of the management agreement. Principally, they're incentivized by making profit for the property. But before all of that starts, they have no connection, sorry to say, to the investment level. So there's first of all a huge policing job to be done, that we don't spend too much nor too little, and that's why as a good asset manager I believe you often have as many challenging dialogues with the investor as well as with the operator, because it's our role in life to get a property that is fit for purpose, that has been designed and developed at an appropriate investment level. Because if that's wrong, we have no chance after that to recover. So I think it is very important for us to challenge the operator not only to achieve the ultimate positioning and the customer experience, we also have to make sure that the investment level stays where it was supposed to be.
So you mentioned challenge. Do we challenge, do we support, or what is our role? Do we police? Do we, a lot of misinterpretation that.
I mean, I think in any relationship, if it has to be a respectful relationship, right? The operator needs to respect you, the investor obviously needs to respect you, and a challenging dialogue in that context needs to be given. If you come in as the auditor or the one who just wants to point out faults, then it will never work. It won't get a good result for anyone.
Theodor,
Yeah.
Germany and Europe is different transition. And hearing from the Middle East, do you have the same issues in Europe?
Yeah. Before I get to your question, I just would like to add, I think the objective is to align, and you pointed out, to align the interests of both the operator and the investor, because very often the big operators have their stock listed, they just have one interest, to get the 25-year-long contract, get as many, a contract which has an MPV of a certain level, but this does not necessarily align with the value of the asset and the sustainable value of the asset. So I fully support this alignment aspect, which I think is one of the main aspects. Now, with regards to Europe, we are at this point in time at the end of a cycle. We have enjoyed since 2009, 2010, a constant increase in RevPARs, constant increase in profitability, and an incredible surge of new supply. Having said this, we see that in some major markets, this has slowed down, come not quite to an end, but has slowed down. That means it is now time to look at value propositioning. Look at what was mentioned before at the top line. Look at what are the flow-throughs from the top line to the bottom line. Streamline our costs, and perhaps repositioning some facilities. To this extent, in Europe, HAMA Europe, we have identified an award which is called the Hotel Asset Management Achievement Award in Europe, and there we got from experienced hotel asset managers some incredible examples of what they were able to do to turn around properties. And there's two properties which I'd like to point out, which have just within 21 months increased the value by 88%. That is not only driven by market capitalization, but predominantly by increasing revenue, decreasing costs, and repositioning of some facilities. And the other one, you may be familiar with the Intercontinental in Dublin, which previously was operated by another international luxury operator, which had a negative GOP, and within just 4 years was turned around and was sold with a 36% IRR.
Those are excellent numbers. And so what we're hearing is on the investment side, on the operational side, on the data side, on the development side. So these are a lot of skill sets that an asset manager brings to the table. But ultimately, it goes back to where I started, is to realize the investment strategy of ownership. And that's why this morning, we had a discussion, we had a debate in the back with Kees in the group, and we had 4 different views on how to achieve that objective. Filippo, you are a seasoned person in the Middle East, so you've as well seen that evolution. Where do you see, from our perspective, where do you see that transition going? And in the Middle East, will we be seeing, just like in Europe, emergence, a footprint of asset management, or do you just see this as a transition? Or how long do you think it will take?
I think I want to add something and then specifically answer your question. More often, and we heard earlier that I think I heard more conversation. Yesterday there were panels very clearly, where everybody is always ready and off the block quick in pointing the fingers at operators. And I'm not taking sides in here. I'm just taking, and I always remind everybody that in a football team, there is 11 players with a distinctive role. And there is a coach which orchestrates, it's like an orchestra. And I think that's where the asset management comes in. And operators have a role, owners have another one. And more often we talk aligning interest. Well, I think I always be pragmatic. If somebody can do it better, they can take off the jacket and go and do it. And I don't think none of us can do it better than Bill Marriott or the people that created this environment. So I think it's a cooperative approach and a stakeholder management role rather than pointing the finger and policing. Coming to your Middle East, I think the Middle East, like any other region, is witnesses what we know is consolidations. And the operator to be competitive worldwide, they consolidate. And by consolidation, we're talking giants, which can be an overwhelming exercise, an exercise that to do it properly takes a long time. So the implementation down to the single hotel level will take even longer because it cascades down from a macro level to a micro. So the Middle East is witnesses a growth in market. So we're not anymore an emerging market, the likes of Dubai. We are a semi-mature economy, that is fully diversified and growing to the next level. Coming to a taxation also regime, hopefully next year with, VAT. So we're becoming very mature, and that's where the asset manager comes, is to look into the nano analysis, the nano strategies, the details, and working together with the operator, the ownership group, and the people in order to position, the asset for when consolidation will be implemented and when the market will move to the next level of the life cycling phase. But above all, and again, and that's why I want to highlight, it's not about operators, it's not about owners, it's about the people that work inside the hotels. So we need to kind of refresh their mind, we need to look at a different perspective on the people, because an operator is a brand, but a brand without human beings is meaningless. So so it does not mean because this hotel branded with something does better and the operator is bad or good. Absolutely not. It's just a question that maybe there are individuals there, they are complacent, people that are tired, they need a new challenge. That's where the asset manager can stimulate, refresh, bring passion, and move it forward. So huge growth.
I like the comparison you made with the football team. Hadn't heard that before. And with the coach. So, and indeed, if you take the coach away, what happens? You have fragmentation, you have no strategy. That's an excellent comparison. I'm a Bayern München fan. So, to give a global perspective from Asia Pacific, from Europe, from Middle East, we have a movement coming. For the audience to understand, in America we have the association, which has about 250 members to this date. It's taken 25 years to get to this point. Would you talk about your individual chapters, how many members you have, and how that transition has come?
In Europe, we were inaugurated in 2014, started with 10 founding members, and within 3 years we have now increased to 31 members, which include Blackstone, Starwood Capital, AXA, Union Investment, and major other investors from in Europe. All of them have a common interest, meaning increasing the value of the properties. And we do that on a joint platform, teaming up, identifying common interests in Europe. And that's quite a challenge, because in Europe we do have a number of jurisdictions which need to be covered. And the management platform, operator platform, is not yet as streamlined as in the US. So there's lots to do, but the acceptance has been incredible. Even to the extent that we have created another platform within HAMA, which is the European Hotel Forum, which together with management companies such as Marriott, Hilton, Intercontinental, Accor, targeting issues such as OTAs and taking it all the way to Brussels to see what can be done to create a more level playing field.
Tasos, how about your?
Yeah, maybe very quickly, HAMA Asia Pacific started as a chapter about 5 years ago. We have about 40 members representing major institutional investors or private families with hotel portfolios, asset managers in-house or external asset managers. And our objective is similar with HAMA, US, Europe, and Middle East to promote education of the asset management. And exchange knowledge, data, become a more ownership voice, how to work more. We see what's happening in the industry. It's a massive, we see consolidation, as you said earlier, of the operators, but we see proliferation of brands. Even us, who are experts, many times we don't even know what are these brands stand about. How about these brands? And then Asia Pacific is dominated by hotel management agreements. This is changing in the future, next 5 years. We'll see a lot more franchise agreements, and the industry is maturing as well. And we have many different markets in different parts of the cycle.
For Middle East and Africa, we have identified 150 members, which we are currently introducing to our association, of which Roya is part of, Colliers is part of, Qatar is part of, and we will be growing that association because we need more asset management. I think we've got about another minute left. How about in 30 seconds, why, for the panel individually, why do we need an asset manager for the audience? Why do we need that? 30 seconds.
To answer a very simple question, are we making enough money, or we supposed to make more than that? So he's answering that question. You might meet your budget, you might go over budget, but the question will remain, have we made the amount of money we're supposed to be making compared to the market? And that's the benchmark, that's the market.
The bottom.
I think for the owner to make informed decisions for the hotel assets that are very, it's a complicated business, it's a very sophisticated business, many businesses in one business, and make very informed decisions and have towards the objective to optimize the returns and the asset value and their investment objectives.
Kees?
Yeah, again, obviously very similar. It's all about making sure, like you said to begin with, first of all, what was the strategy of the investor in going into that asset long-term, short-term, and that everything is in place and everything continues to be focused on that original strategy and staying relevant in the market, outperform.
Theodor?
I only have one word, which is creating value for the investment.
So to the audience again, you heard it again. Opening line is, what do we do? Is exactly that. We ensure the best interests for the investment strategy of ownership. As simple as that. And we achieve it in multiple aspects, in multiple ways. And that's why you need an asset manager. We'll open up the floor for any questions. I think we have a few moments for any questions. We have a gentleman over here.
René, a quick word about the in-house asset managers versus the third-party asset managers. Now, obviously, asset manager need to have a profile, and everybody brings in something new to the table. With all the options available on the table, someone is good on bringing in the data, and of course, Filippo and STR have really helped us, the in-house asset managers per se, by giving that market perspective, which wasn't available a few years back. Rest of it, I still feel that there's a big void wherein the asset managers are still not up in their game when it comes to the technology part of it, and how to handle the OTAs, how to get in the more direct bookings and that part of it. I still feel there's a bit of a conflict, and I think we need to have a quick comment from the panel on how do they see this particular part with all the disruption we saw in the previous session coming to the fore.
That's an excellent question, and goes back to the data and about in-house asset management. And I'm very excited you mentioned that, because that is one of the topics that we've been debating about. Who in the panel would like to?
Maybe I can take. Well, if the owner has many hotels, a big portfolio, it makes sense to have an in-house asset management team, which sometimes may work with an external asset manager to bring more, because these hotels may be in very different markets. And it's impossible for a single maybe owner to know all these markets very well. So the external asset manager will bring intimate knowledge in these markets, a lot of benchmarking, data, and very specialized knowledge, and a more strategic and independent objective. So, but if the owner has only 1 or 2 hotels, it may be difficult to have a proper asset management team in-house. So he has to rely on external asset managers that They do this work and they have teams. For example, in our team we have 8 people with very diverse backgrounds.
Yeah, maybe I would also add
just
one
quickly,
more angle
yeah.
to that in-house versus external. Many reasons for choosing one or the other, but I think one other important one to consider is less emotion, less involved in the internal workings of that company. I think often as an outsider, you give a crisper, clearer input, and maybe also the acceptance of your input doesn't get as politicized as it maybe gets done when it's in-house.
In addition, the scope. If you have like a third asset management team at your disposal, the reach that we provide to your associate, to your organization, is much more in depth than if you have one person or 2 people in-house. Again, our resources are larger. We have, as Kees explains, a more objective view, more strategic view. We can pull in from other resources that generally in-house cannot do, and also have less conflict.
But René, if I can also add, we have several situations where we work together with an in-house.
Yeah, hybrid approach.
You know, so there's many models available where the two can complement each other, because the flip side of what I just said, I may not have the internal knowledge of that organization, so I don't know how to get decisions through, and hence bringing those two together is probably a very powerful solution as well. They're not mutually exclusive.
So this goes back into what we said, the investment strategy of the ownership. What is what you're looking for? What is needed? If it's like on a individual property level, if the portfolio level, why these global investors have the big boys like the Qataris, where they have third party, because they don't have reach in other countries. So you find third party who can add value. I mean, we have tried this in-house to do this ourselves. It will cost you a lot of time, a lot of effort, and you won't have the true value. Instead, if you have a local partner, importance of a local partner. But at the same time, you need somebody in your organization to mitigate that. I think we're being cut off. Annie, do we have another few minutes? That's a yes?
No.
We have another few minutes? Okay, thank you. One closing statement, Filippo?
Just very practical example, and I think it's not whether you need in-house, only external, you need both. Back to the football team, everybody has a role and a function. But very simple example, one owner came to us and said, hey, this is my operator, this is my hotel. Everybody in that team, the accountant, the designer said, oh, we don't make enough money, GOP is too low. Look at the market, my friend told me this, my friend told me that. We went there, we do hundreds of valuations, so we see the real audited numbers. I went back and said, you don't need my services, you don't need in-house asset managers. Your operator is doing far better than anybody in your market. If this advice would not come in, it would have been a fight between the owner and the operator, unnecessary. That's what an external asset manager can bring, is facilitation.
So just to close out before Annie kicks me out, is that, again, these discussions are healthy discussions, and they're coming to the forefront, these discussions. And we promote that. That's why we have the association here. That's why we have discussions like this. We could go on and on and on until Annie just pulls me off the stage. So at this point, I thank you all for listening, and this is just the beginning of a long journey for asset management. Thank you.